Today I wanted to address a very important question that came in recently. Can you feel suicidal from a Kundalini awakening? Suicide is a serious subject. As someone who has survived suicidal attempts, this is a very important subject and something that I like to talk about with you, to share the true source perspective on it. For there's a lot of information out there, and sometimes one can be misguided by others. But it was important for me to share this message with you because this is an important question to address. When it comes to that choice, whether we want to continue this physical life or not, there's obviously no judgment, for we all have free will. And so what happens at the point when we are feeling suicidal, we feel that we are lacking this free will. We know we have a will, but it does not feel like a will to live. But specifically in this video, I'll be answering the question of, can Kundalini awakening causes one to be suicidal? Let's understand Kundalini awakening. Even though it's called Kundalini, I feel like some people think that it's something that only applies to those who, let's say, are following tantric practices or Kundalini yoga. But what Kundalini is truly the spiritual awakening. It's just been termed Kundalini because, well, part of it is in Kundalini yoga is also an understanding of the physical aspect, that this energy as it moves through our body. Sometimes when it comes to spiritual awakening, it's often understood very intellectually. So Kundalini embraces the experiential aspect of it, seeing the body as a microcosm of the macrocosm. And so as we awaken, what does this mean? Well, we come into this physical reality as souls, and we have a costume. It's a human body, and a mind, which is a tool, and emotions, which is also a tool. And so as we go into this physical reality, we start to become so identified with these tools that we have in this costume that we forget about the true essence of who we really are, which is we are soul beings, first and foremost. And so as we become more and more identified, we truly have amnesia. Some come into this reality with a stronger memory of the true soul self. Some forget more easily and fall into this amnesia. And as we awaken to the truth of who we really are, we awaken to this godlike presence within us that's been talked about in all religions. It awakens in us. And it also has physical symptoms, and that is Kundalini. And what are the physical symptoms? Well, we have energy centers in our body. And as this life force moves through, it's not just an intellectual concept. It actually is aligning these energy centers in our body that actually regulates so much of our health, including mental and emotional. But now, as I mentioned, we have a tool, and it's called the mind. And the mind, well, it's not always the easiest tool for us to understand. Not only is it made up with thoughts, but it's easily programmable. So from a young age, this mind of ours was trained by those around us. We were told to do this, don't do that. You should eat this, don't eat that. Talk to that person, don't talk to that person. Talk like this, sit like that, do this. And not just the things that we are told, but the things that we witness. So the mind is a sponge. It's a programmable computer. So it's being programmed as we look around us and we watch all the adults around us behave a certain way. And so what happened in this awakening, basically, is that this mind's perception of reality is being challenged. So for example, I grew up experiencing a lot of physical, emotional, psychic abuse. And so my mind was programmed to believe that I, as an individual, was not a worthy person to live. And so when I really identified with that, I wanted to end this physical life. But there was another side of me, and this is where it was really important. This is what kept me truly aligned with life. See, we want to prevent death. That's the concept that we have, right? We want to prevent death, so we really want to allow more life. And the way that we allow more life is by understanding that we are not all the thoughts that we have. We are not all these emotions that we have. We truly are souls. We are these universal beings, source. We're creators. When we understand this, we are truly aligned. We do not cry of pain, we cry of joy, even if we might have physical pain for some reason or another. But the thing is, our mind is programmed, and so our emotions become programmed. And so you get to a point where this energy is being awakened in you because you've been calling forth for this awakening, whether you are aware of it or not. From a young age, as you experience, and sometimes the more pain that you experience in your life, the more of this awakening you call, because you know there's a side of you. And sometimes if you are in extreme pain, you might call this, I want to go home. But it's not about going home. You're already home. The home is within you. It is your soul. Because your soul is really connected with the greater source. Your body, your thoughts, and those emotions, well, those are gone. And that's why one desires to, let's say, end themselves, because they say, I want to end this connection with my thoughts and emotions. Realizing then, once you end that, what's next? Well, it's being your soul self. And in that, you let go of these thoughts and you realize that all these thoughts, they've been programmed into you, that you can reprogram yourself in a way where you can feel joy and happiness. Now, this process is not easy. So as Kundalini begins to move through us, it begins to challenge this idea that we have of ourselves. And so we are faced with sometimes what people will describe as demons, right? They'll say, oh, I've been seeing demons. I've been seeing these dark forces coming to get me. What this really is you are being faced with these darker aspects of yourself, this programming that's now being manifested as a symbolic language, right? As a demon. Why? Because the mind understands that it's a warning. It's saying, we are seeing something and it's scary. Well, that scary thing is a lot of those negative thoughts that have been piling and piling and piling up. They are not even aware. So can Kundalini make you suicidal? No, but what it's making you aware is of these thoughts that are not your true thoughts. They simply have been programmed in you. And can you release yourself of them? Yes, that's what this path is about. That is the toughest part, and I've spoken about that a lot. That is the toughest part of Kundalini awakening, is getting past that. It's getting past that point when those demons that you see, they're not real. That's the illusion. The only truth is that you are a source being, a universal being, a soul being. That is your truth. That is the unifying energy. Everything else has been programmed. Just like a computer is programmed to perform certain functions. Other computers are programmed a little bit differently. But you now have a part in that, and that's what this source energy is letting you know, that you are actually much more in charge. Before, it was this other side of you that wasn't in charge, and now you're seeing what it's doing, and you realize, oh my, there's so much here. I am in charge. That's what you realize. That is not this programming. That's what has been in charge so far, but you realize it can be a little overwhelming. You say, I don't want to deal with it. It's too much. But when you see it as the illusion, you realize that, that darkness, that's the illusion. All that darkness, it doesn't have to consume you. It's another side of reality. Life is not always fair or pleasant, but it's through this aspect of the Kundalini moving through us that we can allow ourselves to see the universal soul beings that we truly are. And in that, we awaken to the truth that we are empowered within. We do not need someone else. Though in the beginning, we might have to be reminded, right? Someone must remind you that you are a spirit being. You are free in your essence. And even though physical circumstances might not be fair or have been fair, you might have experienced certain things, traumas, and all that, your soul is pure. Your soul is evolving and ascending. And as you align with your soul purpose, that is, and that becomes your true purpose. That is when you experience the true freedom of who you really are as a spirit being.